Hey, welcome back to Lombere Tactical. I'm Eric Lombere, and today we're going to talk about a great economical way to get into reloading, and that's going to be with this right here. This is the Lee hand press. So we're going to go ahead and review this today, talk about the pros and cons of it, and I'm even going to show you how to reload some ammo using this, so you can kind of get a feel of what the experience will be like. But before we get into that, to make the safety Nazis out there happy, let's go ahead and reload a gun. Okay, reloaded, or unloaded, I mean. Empty. Save direction. All right, that has nothing to do with the video, but I'm sure some safety Nazi out there is happy about that, so let's get into it. So let's first start by reviewing what comes in the box, okay? So the one that I have here, okay, this came as a reloading kit. You could buy this unit by itself if, let's say, you have these other accessories, but I do recommend, especially if you're first getting into reloading, to buy a reloader's kit, okay? So I'll link this down below. Be sure to check it out, but essentially this Lee hand press is going to come with some resizing lubricant here. So it's nice to have. This isn't the best one that I would recommend. I actually recommend using this case lube right here. This is by Precision. This is really the best kind of stuff. A lot of people love this. Since trying it, I love it. Okay, but this is what comes in the kit, and when you're first starting out, you know, this is fine because this is kind of your first go at it. Okay, it also comes with this priming setup, and I'll show you how to use this later in the video. But essentially, this allows you to prime the cases both for small primers and large primers. Okay. It comes with a lock ring wrench. This is to lock the dies down on the press. And then it also comes with this funnel. Okay. So obviously I have a full, progressive press here by Precision, but I still use this. Okay. This is a useful thing to have. As a useful press. And I first got into reloading back in early 2020, kind of right when the pandemic started. I got into reloading because I figured, hey, if we're going to be locked down, I might as well start picking up a new hobby. And I also anticipated that maybe, ammo might be hard to come by. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened, right? So if you're first getting into reloading, it's expensive. Okay, there's really no way around it. It's going to be expensive. This was my way of going about it because, for one, obviously it's not very expensive. I think this whole setup cost me somewhere around $50 to $70. I can't remember exactly what. Just for what you see here, I of course bought other items. But in total, in the very beginning, including dies and everything, I first started reloading, I think it was 9mm. With everything that I bought initially, I spent a little over $400, okay? Since then, I spent a lot more, okay? I probably spent well over $1,000 by now with everything that I bought. But just starting out, okay, I was $400 in, and I was able to reload ammo fully. Okay, that's with everything. Be sure to check out my other video. I'll link it to this video. It's where I discuss my reloading bench, so you can kind of see all the different supplies that I have, especially the different types of things that I've acquired over the past year or so. But let's go ahead and talk about what this press does, okay? So essentially, it just opens like this, and then it presses forward, and that's how you essentially move the cases in here and press them into the dies, okay? The dies attach up here, and the shells attach down there. You have to put a shell plate in there, and then the dies. It could be Lee dies or any other brand. The brand doesn't matter for this, but no matter which dies you're using, you have to use the Lee shell plate here. Okay, so I went ahead and bought Lee dies initially. Those are good beginner dies. As you get more into reloading, you'll find that the other brands of dies, such as Redding or Dillon, are really superior to the Lee dies. Okay, they're more money, of course, but I believe they lend to a little bit better of manufacturing of the ammunition. So, anyways, some pros and cons here. Okay, this isn't the smoothest action. I've tried oiling this. Maybe I need to use some different type of oil, but it has some jerkiness to it. Okay. Also, when you are having the shells sit inside of here and you move this up and down, sometimes it gets a little stuck in the in the die that's up here. And you'll see this maybe in the reloading process later on, but as you kind of try to release the shell, it might get stuck and you force it open, and then the shell might pop out of the shell plate down here. So that happens from time to time while I'm reloading. But really the reason why I went with this and not just a regular bench mounted single stage press, which a lot of people have as their first press, I chose this for a very specific reason. So I was living in an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment at the time. Right now I bought a new home, so that's why I was able to get the bigger setup here. But at the time I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment and I didn't have anywhere to set up a mounted press. Okay, there's no space for that kind of thing. I was already overcrowded as it was. So I needed something that didn't need to be mounted and that was very mobile and where I could just easily set up a reloading center kind of anywhere and take it down when I wasn't using it. And that's where this fit in. Okay, it fit in perfectly because it doesn't need to be mounted. You can put this anywhere. You can make this in your living room, in your kitchen, in your garage, wherever. You can make this at the park. Okay, you can make ammo at the shooting range. I mean, you can take this anywhere. Okay, and that's what's cool about this, and that's why it fit my needs at the time. So I think if you are in a similar situation, this is a great press to begin with. If you have space to mount a press, and I would suggest going with the single stage mounted bench mounted presses. I think those are a lot better because they're more stable and you can put a little bit more force into them. However, you do get to feel a lot of the mechanics with this press because it's so manual. Okay? Because you're holding the entire thing, you're able to feel the pressures put on the shells. You're able to feel the primers go into the shells very distinctly. So I think in terms of teaching you reloading, this is a great way to teach you the fundamentals and to learn how the shells are supposed to turn out, what everything's supposed to feel like, because you're doing step by step by step. Okay, and that was another important thing I wanted to do was learn step by step. So when I move on to something that's the progressive that I have here on this bench, that I would, have the fundamentals down and be able to catch something that's moving faster in the progressive press based on just my experience, right? So this press here gave me that experience. Other than that, I think this is a great press. I think that for the money, it's hard to beat. I think if you are in a small living space, this is perfect. Unless you do have the space to mount a press, then I would say get a bench mounted single stage press, at least to begin with, since both the bench mounted and this one are similarly priced. However, this one comes, of course, with the reloading kit here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to reload some 44 Magnum using this press so you can kind of get an idea of what it's like to use this press so you can see the experience. I'm just going to load a couple rounds here for you so you can kind of see how that goes. And I hope you guys enjoy. Check it out. So in order to show you exactly how this Lee hand press works and how it operates essentially, I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps of reloading 44 Magnum in this scenario. So I went ahead and grabbed my Lee die set. You can use any die set. They're all the same. They fit into this press. But for this scenario, I do have the Lee hand press or the Lee four set of dies here. And I'm going to get the resizing decapping die right here. I already have this set to the right appropriate length, so I'll have another video if you're interested to show you exactly how to set up these dies and how to exactly do the reloading process. This video is just to kind of highlight the uses of this press and how it operates. Okay, so that's screwed in. These Lee die sets, they come with the shell holder that's specific for the caliber that you chose. So that's another useful aspect of these dies. And if you're interested in picking up anything in this video, I'll have links for it down below in the description, so be sure to check those out. But you'll go ahead and get this shell holder, and it fits right into here in the press. So you just click it in, and it's ready to go. Okay, so before I tumble my brass, this is unclean, dirty brass right off the range, I'll deprime them first. And this, I think, in my opinion, just allows for the media to get through here and clean it a little bit better. So just in terms of quality, this is what I prefer to do. So you just place it into the shell holder here, and you're just going to lift it up. Okay, so you're going to make sure that the shell gets into the die appropriately. It's not hitting the sides or anything like that. You're going to make sure it's fitted in there appropriately. And then you're just going to slowly press up on here. Okay, you'll feel it depress, you want to make sure that this part touches this part on the press. So I just make sure I give it a squeeze, and then you're going to slowly back this out. Okay. And there you go. It is now deprimed and resized and ready to rock and roll. So I'll go ahead and do this for all of the shells that I'm going to be reloading for the day, or at least the shells that I plan on cleaning. So right when these are done cleaning, I'll show you the next steps. So I just got these out of the tumbler. So we just have to do a little case prep here before we can begin reloading. Okay, so what I have here is the Lyman multi-tool for case prepping. So it comes with some deburring tools. Like I said, this tool is listed down below if you're interested. But I'm going to get the large pistol or large primer accessories here. Okay, so this is the case reamer. I think that's what that's called. And then this one is the one that's used primarily to clean out the primer pockets. If it focuses, it just has a little tip here that allows you to get into the primer pocket and clean that out. Okay, so these go ahead and fit into here, and you essentially just screw this in. Okay, and to not drag out the video too much, this is essentially what I do. So it just came out of the tumbler, like I said, and you'll see here there's some corn media stuck in that primer pocket. So I'll just kind of fish that out with this tool. And really what you're trying to do here is obviously make sure this is clear, but there's kind of residue at the bottom here. So you just go ahead and give this a quick twist, and you just want to be able to see, you know, the brass down in the primer pocket. Usually there's some like carbon kind of black buildup there, and you just have to clean that out for each of these. Okay, so I'm just gonna prep 2 of these bullets for you just so you can get a quick view of what this is like. And essentially once these are all cleaned, in terms of cleaning out the primer pockets, we can move on to priming them and the other steps of reloading. So we're gonna do these 2 shells right here, and we will begin priming them right now. So to prime with this press here, you need a couple of things, okay? You need your priming accessories here, and you need primers. Look at these. These are gold. You can't even find these anymore, right? So anyways, for 44 Magnum, you need to use large pistol primers. So I'm using some CCIs right here. But what we'll do is, you know, take a couple of these out, and we will proceed to put them in here. Okay, so in here, I'll show you how this works. So it has this little adapter here. This is where the shell plate clicks into. Rather than the shell plate going into this part like it normally does, it's going to go into this part, okay? And this screws in up here. All right, and that's how that works. And for this right here is what holds the primer, and it pushes it up into the shell. So this one right here is set up for small pistol primer, and what I need to do is set it up for large pistol primer, okay? And that's what this accessory in the box comes with. So this, of course, all comes with the kit. Like I mentioned, it gives you everything you need to begin reloading. It essentially just falls into here as so, okay, just like that. And this is what's going to go into this part here. So what I do is I get some pliers here, and I'm going to depress this cap here, and I'm going to grab onto the rod in there, and I'm essentially just going to pull this out. Okay, I need to do it slowly because, you know, there's a spring behind it. Okay, and just like that. So I got that pulled out, and you essentially will just take this setup and put it to the side, and you'll get the large pistol primer right here, or pistol primer setup, and put the spring right over it, over the rod, And then you just kind of press this into here. This is kind of like a collet kind of setup. It just holds by pressure. So once that's inside, I'll just use my pliers to kind of press down on the center piece here, just to make sure it's fully seated down in there, okay? And we're ready to go with this. So what I do now is, you want to kind of depress this all the way down. This has a little ring on the bottom that just clips right into there, just like that. Okay, so what I do is we're going to take 2 primers. These are, again, large pistol magnum primers for the 44 Magnum. I'll go ahead and take this, and this, we also need the shell plate. I forgot about that. So shell plates, like I mentioned before, come in this Lee kit. You can also buy them separately if you don't have the Lee dies. You can order them on Amazon even, and you can, like I said, use them with any other dies. Okay, so I'm going to take the shell plate. Again, this is specific for the caliber that you're reloading. And what I do is, this is what's facing me, okay? And I'll get this shell plate and twist it to face me. All right, so what I do here is I'll go ahead and take the shell, place it on top, as so. And then you take the small pistol primer, and this is what is going to sit inside of here. So what I do is I take it, and you're just going to place it right inside of this. Now I have the primer facing upwards, okay? The part that you strike is sitting inside of here. All right, so then you just go ahead and press this up, and you're going to feel it make contact, and you're going to press just a little bit more. Okay, right there. You can feel it go in, and you can feel it stop once it's fully seated. I'm not pressing super hard, just firmly, okay? Notice this doesn't go all the way in this scenario, it just goes right here. Then I'm going to back this out, and you want to remove the shell, and you want to feel, okay? This should be flush or just below flush, and as you can see right here, it looks pretty flush, okay? That right there is done, and we're going to do the other shell. So that's going to go in like before. This is going to sit into the primer cup, and then we're just going to slowly press this up. It's going to make contact, and then just a little bit more, maybe you can hear it right there. Okay, went in and it's fully seated. So back that out, remove the shell, feel it, and it is perfectly seated once again. So now what we have to do is go ahead and bell the cases, and I will show you how to do that right now. So to bell the case, you have to get your appropriate die. Okay, so this one is the one with the funnel on the Lee dies. This allows you to pour the powder in there. I never use that functionality. I pour powder with the funnel separately. But essentially, you're just going to get this and screw this in. Now again, I have this set up so that it's already at the right depth here, because I already have reloaded this. Again, if you guys want to know the exact steps on how to do this, let me know in the comments down below on how to set up the dies and do everything from square one, and I'll be happy to make that video for you. But essentially that just screws in up top. I just make sure it's nice and snug. Shell plate goes back at the bottom here. Okay, so what's important is you need to have the bullet that you want to reload. Okay, this is a 240 grain 44 caliber lead bullet, and you're going to take your case here and you're going to place it in the press here. Okay, so what I've noticed is with this press, sometimes the shells hit the side of the die when they're going up, because this isn't the most, as you can see, there's some wiggle here. This isn't the most stable setup. So that's one con for this press, okay? So as this goes up, if it hits a side like it just did right there, I had to press this a little bit so it goes inside the die so I can continue pressing up. Okay, so you don't want to just go full force and slam this home, because you can screw up your shells like that. You have to be careful and notice them if there's a mistake happening with this process. So this is just going to press all the way in. Okay, just like that. Now I'm going to take this shell and just check that the bullet fits. It fits perfectly, just like that, right? You want it to fit inside easily, but you don't want it to overexpand this too much. And I've noticed with lead bullets, the cases tend to want to be a little bit more wider versus when they have a copper jacket on, you don't need to make them as wide, I've noticed. But the lead bullets, you do want them to be a little bit extra wide. So that's what I do here. But, it fits in just nicely, and that's what you're looking for. Okay, so then you're going to take your second shell, do the same thing. Notice it hit the side again. Okay, I'm going to press that to be center, and then continue going. Okay, and that's it. Again, nice and belled right there. I take the bullet, double check it, fits perfectly. All right, so now we just have to charge the cases, and that's the next step. So I'm going to go over what you need to reload, or to charge the cases, I mean. First, you of course need your recipe. Okay, gotta have your recipe. For this one, I'm going to use 23.5 grains of this gunpowder, which is 296 Winchester. So what we do is, this is a scale that I use. It's by Frankfurt Arsenal. Again, linked down below. It comes with this tray. You put that right there, turn it on. It's going to zero to that tray. You also need this scooper. This one is a 0.7 cc. Again, comes with the dies in the lead die set, so essential. I'm going to go ahead and take this, put some powder here. I can see it's 10.7, so that means I can do another full scoop, no problem. 21.5, okay, so we're trying to get again to 23.5. So I'm just going to kind of trickle this in, 23.5, okay? So what I'm going to do is just kind of move this around and reweigh it just to confirm. Okay, 23.6, that's still fine within my range because I have the range here of what I can reload this to. So 23.6 is fine. I'm going to take the funnel. Again, I use this to this day. Again, this is the funnel that came with that with the Lee hand press. Okay, so I'm just going to put that over my case and then take the gunpowder and tap that in, and there you go. We have a charged case. Okay, so we're going to do that one more time here. So again, we're going to do our 2 scoops here. Okay, 23.5 right there. Okay, now again, there's better, faster ways to measure your powder. This is the method I still use to this day whenever I'm using the hand press here. When I'm using my progressive press, of course, it has the powder funnels built in. But this right here is a way that I use to reload 44 Magnum, for instance. I still use this press for 44 Magnum. So you could, of course, get a powder measure. Lee makes a good one. It's nice and cheap. I believe it's like $25. So you could buy that. I've seen reviews. I never used it, but reviews say that it is extremely accurate, especially for the $25 mark. People are kind of impressed with that. But anyways, we have 2 charged cases here. Okay, so now I'm going to put away the gunpowder items here, and we're going to move on to seating the bullet. So to seat a bullet, we need our bullet seating die. In the 4 die set by Lee, you'll notice that the crimp die and the bullet seating die look identical. Okay, they look very, very similar. So the way to distinguish them is you want to refer to the manual that comes with each of these die sets. Okay, and it tells you how to distinguish between the bullet seating and the crimp die. Okay, so the bullet seating die has essentially the details of the die written right here, while the crimp die has the details of the die written at the bottom. So that's how you tell the difference here. That is the one confusing part with these dies, is they look so similar. So what we're going to do here is we do need to have our calipers. I am using these calipers right here. Again, I'll link this down below, but you just want to turn this on. And what I do is I move this up and down a little bit here. And I want to make sure it's maintaining its 0. It did not maintain its 0, so I'm going to click 0. And I'm going to move it again. So this is maintaining its 0 now. Okay, so what I do now is, again, just like the other steps, this is already set to the right depth, essentially. So you want to adjust it with this lock ring as well as with the seating die up here. So that's screwed in, and make sure it's nice and snug. All right, I'm going to take my charged case, and you want to always confirm that the powder is inside, and you want to look above, directly down, to see that the powder is identical levels to the other shells. So I'm going to take the charged case that's going right inside of here. I'm going to take this bullet and seat it right into that shell. We know it's going to fit well because we tested that before. Okay, so you can see the bullet seated in here. Okay, again, slowly up. You want to make sure it goes into the die as it should. Now I'm just going to press it up, and that bullet is seated. So this is what we look like right now. Now what I'm going to do is measure this. This is measured at 1.601. Overall length we're looking for is 1.610. So I'm obviously underneath that. And I go underneath that on purpose, okay? This is for a Desert Eagle. And the Desert Eagle mags call for a shorter length than this. And, you know, after doing my research and so forth, I always recommend you do your research. Don't just copy some guy you see on the internet like me. But if I pressed this down a little bit further, I found it worked just fine in the gun. And I found that that was safe to do in this particular scenario. But again, don't do as I do. Go ahead and do your own research on that. Okay, so that bullet is seated. And we are going to seat the next bullet. Okay, so just as before, we're going to take our charged case. That's going to go inside of here. We're going to take our bullet, and that's going to sit right on top or right inside of the shell. And we're going to press up, and we're pressed in, just like that. So we're going to remeasure this, or measure the new one, 1.602. Okay, so it's a little bit, tiny bit longer than the other one, but you always see that there's variances between the different bullets. So that's perfectly fine. These are within range of what I'm looking for. And we're going to move on to crimping. So to crimp, I'm going to remove this die, and we are going to get the crimp die. Depending on the load that you are making, you need to adjust these appropriately. I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to make a nice crimp. So you'll see, anyways, the edge here, you want to get this shell hugging the case. Remember, we belled this shell outwards. So we need to bring the shell back in to the bullet. And that's what the crimp does. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and push this through. Now, when I've been doing this on this press, rather than pressing it straight in, what I found is I tap here. And this seems to make it a little bit easier to get it to that point. Okay, once it's there, then you want to give it a squeeze and make a touch right there. And then that's crimped, just like that. And that's why I wanted to show you the reloading process, because you're dealing with a kind of unconventional way of moving the press with having this handle. So, you know, it calls for slightly different techniques, I feel. But anyways, you can see that that is now hugging that case, or the case is hugging the bullet nicely now, okay? And if you run your fingers down here, you're not feeling any sharp edges and nothing's catching your fingers. It's nice and smooth because now that shell is not inside of the bullet, but it's nice and snug around the bullet. So we're gonna do the last one right here. Again, just place it into the shell holder, bring it up and tap in, and then squeeze, tap it out. And again, I'm going to fill this, and nice and smooth. Okay, nothing's catching my fingers. That's what we're looking for. We have 2 finished bullets, and we're ready to fire these. All right, so I think that this press is great to start out with. Just like you saw right now, it's fairly easy to make the rounds. I incorporate a few different techniques, like I mentioned, where you tap the handle and such to put it into the crimp die here. But I think that, you know, I still use this to this day, okay? I use this to make specifically these 44 Magnum rounds. I use it to make 38 special rounds, and that's just because I haven't had this full setup on the Dillon press here to reload those other rounds on there. So I use this press for that. But even if, once I get all of these dies for all of the rounds that I typically make on the Dillon, I'll obviously use this less, but I still will see different reasons to use this, okay? So for instance, when I load 223 on the Dylan press. I found that if the primer pockets aren't perfectly uniformed, if I didn't do a good job uniforming the primer pockets, because in 223 the primer pockets are crimped, that press has a really hard time putting the primers in there. Okay, so I found that sometimes the primers won't be seated properly. So what I'll do is I'll have this set up for priming when I'm reloading 223, because in a scenario where that press, which happens every few rounds, essentially, the primer isn't sitting properly, I'll go ahead and take that round out of that press and put it into this press. And this, you can put all the force that you need in order to fully seat that primer. So I'll go ahead and prime it with this just to make sure it's seated properly, and then I'll put that round back into the press and finish reloading. So this still has a place in my setup here, and that's why I recommend it to beginners, because you're going to buy this, and I think, you know, just like I do, you're going to continue to use this forever. Okay, so even though I'll likely use this less and less, I think that I will even use it, you know, if I went on a camping trip or something, went hunting, I can bring this with me and be able to remake my ammo out in the wilderness should I want to, right? So that's why I like this press. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions. Comment down below, and be sure to like this video. Okay, I put a lot of thought into making this. I wanted to make sure it was helpful to you guys. I saw other videos on YouTube covering this, and some of them do an alright job, but I wanted to essentially give my own viewpoint on it and at least show a little bit more in depth of what it's like using this product here. Okay, so anyways, check the links down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.